there, YouTube. Welcome back to the Allegheny Northern in N scale, and Happy New Year to all of you, as it is January 1st, 2022, and that means it is time to talk about the December 2021 update. So that's what we're going to do today, and take you through some things that we got done here in December, and then also do a brief bit of looking ahead into what is coming in the new year. So first, there has not been a lot of progress on the layout itself. December was pretty much cleaning and annual maintenance, so nothing exciting to report on that front. But I'm going to take you through a quick buzz around, show you some of the little things that got accomplished, and then we can talk about the upcoming year. Okay, first we're going to start over here at the power plant, and before we do that, I know that little guy is getting himself a little cult following, so there is the T-Rex laying on the back of that flat car. And I worked on the scenery here a little bit, so I've got some additional shrubs and plants and stuff planted, and the scenery is coming along, although I am thinking that I may extend those 3 tracks through the wall to give me a little more space to put coal cars. So I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I have to look and see what lines up on the other side, because directly on the other side of that wall is about where the helix table starts. So I don't want to get too crazy. But so I added those shrubs. You see the reds and the yellows, and there's some small green ones that are also there. So I'm going to add a little bit of static grass, I think, between some of the rails, but because this is a heavily used track and industry, you know, that rail is going to be a little bit more maintained than some of the other industries. So I'm gonna be a little careful with how much of that I do. But so got those planted. That didn't take too long. You'll notice the terminal is looking a little empty, and that is because I took a lot of the foreign power that was here and took it off the layout. Obviously, there's still a couple of visitors that are hanging out, but by and large now there's some space to move around. And I also cleaned up over here. So this was part of the cleanup process, just getting some locomotives that I know I can use in trains to stay on the layout, and some ones that I know that probably aren't going to get used or not used very often off the layout. So I started doing some rough work here for the intermodal yard, the port, and that was just rough shaping the foam, trying to get this path cut in. It's obviously not done yet. This needs some work, and yes, I am cheating in yet another spot here. A couple of pieces of Atlas snap track here that just, not snap track, they're original track, sectional track. And that needs just soldered in place, and then this all needs the sub-road bed here needs put in, and you know, obviously this is a little rough, so we got to get that cleaned up to be acceptable for trains. But I did start working my way around the layout here. Obviously, you can see that I have moved some of the intermodal stuff up here just to get it out of the way, which means my intermodal yard down on the lower level is clear, so I can actually move some trains around now. Also cleaned up the mess of wires, although it looks like I'm losing a strip of lights here, but I did clean up the mess of wires that was back here and hanging down that was powering this track. So got that all straightened out so that it looks a little neater on the underside, drilled the holes that the wires go through in the wood. Why I didn't do that first, I don't know. I think it was a rush to get, you know, the power up and test the track. But in any event, that is the major stuff. Like I said, spent most of the time cleaning the layout itself and getting that together. So now that is done, I'm losing another string of lights there, but I'll watch as the coal train makes its way around. This is one of the advantages of having a double loop main line. You can get trains running as you're working, which I enjoy. And I'll just take a quick shot here because we'll have a brief meet. And no, I'm not going to short you. There is the T-Rex. So that pretty much wraps up the layout. As you can see, things are running smoothly. Everything's been cleaned up. Everything is running well. So ready for the new year. Okay, so before we get off the main layout here, this is one of the shots that I had taken and posted to Instagram. I'll put my tag down in the description so you can follow me if you don't. There is content that goes up on Instagram, sometimes some short videos, although mostly it's still photographs, and that does not necessarily make a video for YouTube. The only reason that is because not everything is video worthy, and so if I'm working on something or I think something's cool or I see a nice shot, or if I'm just real fanning my own layout, I may take a picture and post it there. And it doesn't, if you're not following me there, you may miss something. For instance, if you are not following me there, then this next project I'm about to show you is probably completely new to you. Okay, so this is where most of December has been spent, and it is assembling this boat. This is going to be a cargo ship for the port, and it is a cast resin model. It comes completely unpainted. Most of it looks just like these pieces here, which is, you know, just the resin color. So this has several coats of spray paint on it in various shades before things were assembled. Nothing's been final paint. You can see I still have glue marks and scratches and all kinds of things on it, but slowly getting all of the details put onto this thing. And it has been a process. It's taken a lot of time. I probably have, I'd say about 14 hours in on this thing, between cleaning pieces and sanding pieces and puttying pieces. It has been quite a challenge to build. It's not an easy kit, but the challenge has been fun, so I've enjoyed this process. I've cursed it a few times, but in all, I am really having a lot of fun building this. So the next step is, obviously, I got a few more pieces back here that need to be painted and assembled, and then there's some pieces that are actually on the model that were just easier to install and then paint. So I'm going to go ahead and get that painting done, and then once all of that is done, there is railings that need to be put on here. So there's little stanchions, and they actually give you the wire. I don't know if you can see that. There it is, to do the railings. So I have, like I said, I have quite a bit of work yet to do on this thing, and then of course final painting, weathering, and then putting the containers on here. And I have the containers are actually going to be paper containers, because this is going to sit basically in the background. So I don't remember if I did a video on those paper containers or not that I have, but they are pretty easy to build. So I probably won't do a video on them, just because it's, you know, it's just not all that exciting. But like I said, this is something that if you are following me on Instagram, you have seen pictures sort of the progress from all the little pieces to various states of the build, and the paper containers will be in that venue rather than here. So once again, follow me on Instagram if you want to see those, and of course you can do the same thing, ask questions and whatnot there. So here's December's work. And one last item that we need to take a look at is up above on the staging. Okay, so what you're looking at there is the branch line from the coal mine. So if you could see all the way through there, which you can't, but if you could, that would take you right to the coal mine. And what was happening is, every time my locomotives, and I believe they're SD45s, would come through here, they would stay on the track just fine, but the lead car was getting pulled because the radius was too tight. So I put some different couplers on the locomotives, thought that the longer shank would fix the problem, and it did not. I put in a broader sweeping curve, and that fixed the issue with the curve. But now, of course, my lead yard switch, which was round about here, now needed to be over here. So that involved, well, disconnecting all of the switches because they needed to move, and then doing a yard realignment, which I did here. Now, this yard, as you can tell, as you're looking down here, you can see that there is cork going in just every direction. That's because the old cork, that was where the tracks used to be, was glued to the plywood substrate. But the top cork, because it takes 2 layers of cork, well, these is foam, I guess, foam bed, to reach the level of the Cato track, was not. So it's sort of crisscrossing across there. It's sort of, it's not really, it's probably not the way you're supposed to do it. It does work. The track is stable and trains do run over it fine, so I'm not going to question it. But as you can tell, the sort of curvature of the yard has changed, and we did have a casualty in the process. We lost our smallest lead on the yard, but it's not a major deal, and I'm going to show you why. Because buried under all of this garbage, I have a very stub-ended track here that is going to just be a place for me to store the locomotive that will switch this yard. So speaking of switching the yard, here's all that foreign motive power that is no longer on the layout. Most of it, actually all of it, is either Burlington Northern or Burlington Northern Santa Fe, with the exception of my RS, I think it's the 3 from Atlas. So, I mean, they are absolutely beautiful locomotives, and I do love them, and they're green and their current, you know, post-merger schemes. But right now, I just have more locomotives than I have trains. So these are the guys that are going to be chilling in the back here for a little bit, which actually is going to give me time to weather them. And so the plan is to service them, weather them, and then trade them out for locomotives that are on the road now, and do the same process. So that's a 2022 project. But anyway, so the yard's been realigned now. Broad sweeping curves, which help keep the coal cars on the track, so that's working. The yard has been tested. I did not have to modify the solder joints to the rails, so those are all there. The switches are disconnected, but honestly, it's right here, so if I need to move it by hand for the time being, I'm not in too much of a hurry to take care of that. Once these switch machines are dual function, so that they'll be on this side and on the other side if I want to make switches, that'll be more important. But for right now, we're just going to leave these off to the side. And as I do my switching, I will move it by hand. And that is how we ended the 2021 season of modeling. And now that we are entering 22, so some things that are coming up and future video ideas here. So a lot of what you're going to see is going to focus on the building of the town and those industries, so that those cars have a meaning to be on those tracks. You're also going to see me working on what I'm calling the land bridge to the pier, and all of the harbor scenes as well. And I'm not going to forget also that I have the terminal to build. So I don't think I'm going to get all of that built in 22, but we're going to give it hell and see how far we get. And then, of course, there will be some other videos related to weathering and whatnot, most notably this little guy that I hinted at a long time ago. He is a patched out old Seaboard, and now he is Conrail. So with two different paint schemes applied at two different times, obviously the weathering here is a little bit different than just a regular car. So we're going to go through a video on how I'm going to do that. And then I've picked up quite a few subscribers over the last year. I think we put out 25 or 26 videos, or maybe in a miscount somewhere along there, because you know, math is hard sometimes. But so we're gonna go back through the layout. We're going to take a tour. We'll start at one end. We'll go all the way through. It'll show the newcomers what the layout looks like, how it operates, and then we'll, it might be a nice refresher for you guys as well that have been following along, so that you can see, you know, where all the progress is and how it sits. And then it'll be a good lesson for me, because it might give me some operational ideas as we go through. So that is upcoming. And then, of course, there's little projects that will be popping up along the way that we'll be doing. Probably the biggest one is going to be, I'm going to take a break from the layout in its entirety, and I'm going to work on a very small diorama with the intention of it being a display base for either an unused locomotive, rolling stock, whatever. But the reason I'm doing that is to show you how I make the snow for the layout. And it has been a question that has come up on more than one occasion, so I figured, all right, it might be time to do a video. And although this year I will be refreshing the snow scenery, because it does, no matter how much you seal it or whatever, I find that the snow just does not stay as white and fluffy from year to year as it should. It's also very hard to clean, because when you apply the final layer, it's almost like a dusting to give it the sparkle. It doesn't get sealed I know that's sort of goes against everything I'm sure that we've all been taught, but that's how it goes down. That's how it looks fluffy in my way. So what I'll do is I am going to do a small video in the next couple of months here that is going to show you how I do the scenery process, and it may end up being a multi-part because let's face it, after so many minutes, it's you gotta do something else. So I will be doing that, and then we'll just take it from there. So hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas and is having a very Happy New Year, and welcoming everyone now to modeling for 2022.